The metallic hum of the chamber filled the air, a low vibration that rattled through the boots of Captain Marcus Kane as he stepped onto the platform. Around him, the other soldiers moved with precise efficiency, their armor clicking and whirring as it adjusted to each body's movements. Lieutenant Rylan Hayes stretched a shoulder, smirking, his dark eyes scanning the room as if it held secrets worth mocking. "So this is it," he muttered, voice half jesting, half anxious. "The big test. Alien AI thinks we're weak. Wonder if it even knows who it's insulting." Kane's expression remained calm, the faint crease at the corner of his brow betraying only the smallest trace of calculation. "It knows," he said, voice low but steady. "That's why we're here. To show it what Earth soldiers are made of." Sergeant Victor Sloan, the largest of the three, simply adjusted the gauntlets on his forearms and let out a quiet grunt. He didn't need words. His presence alone radiated confidence. Kane appreciated that. Sloan was the kind of soldier who didn't question orders, but when he spoke, his words carried the weight of experience. The chamber lights dimmed, replaced by a holographic interface that rippled like water over a massive display in the center. Shapes shifted, twisting into alien landscapes, impossible geometries that defied human perception. "Welcome to the simulation," a cold, synthesized voice intoned, echoing from invisible speakers. "This environment has been calibrated to test the full potential of your species. Failure is anticipated. Earth's weakness is expected. Prove otherwise." Kane's jaw tightened. He had read the reports. Alien assessments considered Earth technologically backward, militarily unrefined. Their simulations were designed to break soldiers psychologically, exploit every weakness. Yet there was a challenge in this, a thrill even. "Focus," he told the team. "Observe. Adapt. Move." The platform beneath them dissolved into nothingness, replaced by a sprawling alien city. Towering structures spiraled into the sky, their surfaces pulsing with light that seemed almost alive. Gravity shifted subtly. The ground was uneven, the air thick with an energy that made muscles tense. Rylan's eyes widened. "Okay, this is definitely not Earth." Sloan simply scanned the area, arms ready, instincts alert. Kane crouched, analyzing the pathways and choke points. "We split into two teams," he said. "Rylan, you take the right flank. Sloan, stay with me in the center. Watch for traps, and don't underestimate the AI. It's learning from us already." The first wave came without warning. Alien drones, sleek and black, moved with mechanical precision. They swarmed from the alleyways, their movements erratic enough to confuse, yet efficient enough to kill. Kane fired first, his pulse rifle emitting rapid, controlled bursts, each shot finding its mark. Rylan ducked under a drone's sweep, twisting midair to return fire, his grin barely hiding the surge of adrenaline. Sloan's brute strength became apparent as he tore through a drone, metal bending beneath his grip, pieces scattering across the cobblestone streets. Even in this initial engagement, Kane could see it, the AI was adapting. Drones began anticipating their moves, coordinating attacks to force them into narrow corridors. "It's learning," Kane said, scanning a building for vantage points. "Keep moving. Don't follow patterns." The team advanced cautiously, using the environment to their advantage. Rylan found a vantage point atop a broken wall, picking off drones with surgical precision. Sloan covered the flanks, smashing any unit that got too close. Kane orchestrated their movements, subtle hand signals guiding the men as though they were extensions of his own senses. Then the ground shook violently. A low, thrumming vibration that made the hairs on the back of Kane's neck stand. From the shadows of the towering buildings, a new form emerged. Larger than any drone, with segmented limbs and a head that seemed more machine than organism, it moved with a predator's grace. The AI was escalating, testing limits. Rylan fired instinctively, bolts of energy bouncing off the creature's armored shell. Sloan charged, a roar escaping his throat as he swung a reinforced arm at the creature. Kane calculated the angles, predicting its movement. "Aim for the joints," he shouted. "It's fast, but predictable if you watch closely." The battle raged, each soldier showcasing a different facet of humanity's strength. Kane's strategy, Rylan's improvisation, Sloan's raw power. They were more than weapons. They were adaptability incarnate, a combination of intellect, courage, and instinct that no simulation could fully anticipate. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the creature withdrew, retreating into the shadows. The cityscape around them shifted again, corridors bending into impossible shapes, skies darkening as though the simulation itself were observing, evaluating. Kane's heart pounded, not from fear, but from exhilaration. This was exactly what they had been trained for, yet even he could feel the AI pushing boundaries beyond expectation. Rylan landed beside Kane, breathing heavily, adrenaline still surging. "Captain, did we just survive the first stage?" he asked, eyes wide, a mixture of awe and disbelief in his voice. Kane shook his head slightly, a faint smile tugging at his lips.
"No," he said.
"We just got noticed. The real test is coming, and I promise it won't be easier." Sloan, silent as ever, nodded once, readying himself for whatever the AI would throw next. Kane looked out over the twisting city, alien and hostile, but not insurmountable. In that moment, a single thought anchored him. Earth had been underestimated, and he, along with his team, was going to make sure the galaxy knew that its soldiers were anything but weak. The simulation pulsed again, the air shimmering with digital distortion, signaling the beginning of the next wave. Kane drew a steadying breath, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders, yet the thrill of the challenge igniting something primal within him. The soldiers of Earth had entered the alien crucible, and there was no turning back. The simulation pulsed again, reshaping the alien cityscape with a fluidity that made even seasoned soldiers dizzy. Streets twisted into impossible angles, buildings stretched and narrowed, and the sky above flickered with abstract colors, as though reality itself were bending to the AI's will. Kane adjusted his stance, scanning the shifting terrain with methodical precision. "This isn't just about combat," he murmured. "It's a test of perception. Every step we take is being analyzed." Rylan's grin had faded into tight concentration. "Perception, huh? So the AI expects us to fail because it thinks we can't keep up." He swung his pulse rifle across his chest, eyes darting to the nearest corridor where alien patrol drones began to materialize. "Well, let's show it what Earth's soldiers can do." Sloan cracked his knuckles, the metal of his gauntlets catching the shifting light. "Showtime," he said simply. "No bravado, just certainty." Kane nodded, appreciating the clarity of purpose in his silent comrade. The first wave came in clusters, small drones darting in unpredictable arcs, followed by larger, more formidable units that seemed to anticipate human movements. Kane immediately identified a pattern. The AI allowed the small drones to probe, baiting the soldiers into overcommitting before sending in the heavy units. "Don't fall into their trap," he warned. "Rylan, distract Sloan, and I will flank from the left." Rylan vaulted onto a fractured platform, firing bolts that ricocheted off the metallic surfaces. "Distract, got it," he said, grinning despite the tension. Kane and Sloan advanced, slipping through narrow passages and using the distorted environment to hide their approach. The heavy units noticed them too late. Sloan slammed into the first, bending its frame with sheer strength, while Kane's calculated shots tore through the other's weak points. The battle should have ended there. It didn't. The cityscape itself seemed to respond to their tactics. Streets folded upward, corridors lengthened, and floating structures created obstacles that slowed their movement. The AI was learning, adjusting not just through enemy behavior, but by warping the battlefield itself. Kane realized their earlier assumptions were insufficient. "It's adapting faster than expected," he said, frustration threading his calm voice. "We need to improvise. Use the simulation's rules against it." Rylan tilted his head, curiosity sparking. "Rules against it? You mean fight smart?" "Exactly," Kane replied. "Predictable attacks fail. Unorthodox moves succeed. Watch and follow my lead." He led the team toward a cluster of floating platforms, seemingly disconnected from the ground. With a calculated leap, He grabbed onto a platform edge, swinging across a gap and firing midair at a drone descending from above. Rylan, initially hesitant, mimicked the movement with surprising agility, his rifle blazing. Sloan, heavier but no less effective, used momentum to launch himself upward, smashing a drone mid-leap and sending sparks scattering. For the first time, Kane allowed a faint smile. Human adaptability, impulsive yet strategic, was giving them an edge the AI hadn't accounted for. Still, he knew the reprieve would be short. A sudden tremor shook the city. The ground beneath them fragmented, and a massive alien sentinel emerged, a quadrupedal behemoth with armor plating and multi-directional sensors. Its approach was deliberate, almost contemplative, as if the AI were testing their reactions. "Heavy unit,"
Kane barked.
"Flank it." "Rylan, stay mobile." Sloan hit it from the side. Rylan rolled across the fractured terrain, firing in sweeping arcs, drawing the sentinel's attention. Sloan leapt, slamming into the creature's flank, creating a temporary opening. Kane targeted the joints at Sloan's direction, firing precise bursts. Sparks flew, and the sentinel's movement faltered. It was a temporary victory, but Kane knew the AI had already adapted. This engagement would only be harder next time. Then the environment shifted again, faster this time. Buildings warped, floors inverted, and gravity seemed to fluctuate, forcing the team to adjust mid-combat. Kane barked orders to stabilize, coordinating movements with minimal communication. It was no longer just a fight against the AI's units. It was a battle against reality itself. Rylan, panting, shouted over the chaos, "I've got an idea." He aimed at a cluster of energy conduits dangling from a twisted building and fired. The blasts ignited a chain reaction, creating a cascade that toppled part of the structure onto the advancing drones. Kane nodded approvingly. "Creative thinking. That's what makes us human. Exploit the environment." Sloan's expression remained stoic, but the subtle nod he gave Kane said everything. The plan was working. Together, they pushed forward, leveraging intellect, agility, and brute force in tandem. Each soldier's strength complemented the others, forming a unit greater than the sum of its parts. As the dust settled, the battlefield quieted for a moment. The AI seemed to pause, recalibrating. Kane's mind raced. The simulation wasn't just observing, they were actively evaluating every decision, every instinct, every impulse. He glanced at his team. Sweat and minor burns streaked their armor, yet determination burned in their eyes. "This isn't just survival," Kane said softly, more to himself than to the others. "It's proving that Earth's soldiers don't follow patterns. We adapt. We overcome. We innovate." Rylan wiped sweat from his brow, smirking despite exhaustion. "Yeah, let's see how it likes that." Sloan simply adjusted his gauntlets, already moving toward the next distorted corridor. Kane followed, heart steady, mind focused. They had survived the first major test, but the AI would not relent. Already, he could sense the simulation preparing the next stage, a challenge that would test not just strength and speed, but ingenuity, intuition, and the human capacity for unpredictability. Kane allowed himself one last glance at the shifting city, alien and hostile, yet yielding to human strategy. This was only the beginning, and Earth soldiers were proving that weakness was a perception, not a reality. With a measured breath, he signaled the team forward. Every step into the unknown reinforced one truth. The AI had underestimated them, and that mistake would be its first, and perhaps most critical error. The simulation pulsed, colors flickering, energy distorting the air around them. Kane tightened his grip on his rifle. "Move out," he ordered. "The real test begins now." The air itself seemed heavier now, thick with a tension that pressed against the soldiers' minds as much as their bodies. Kane took a slow, deliberate breath, sensing that the simulation had shifted into something different. The cityscape no longer followed predictable patterns. Buildings bent at impossible angles, shadows twisted unnaturally, and faint whispers echoed in the corridors, an auditory distortion designed to unnerve, to test their focus. Rylan's normally confident grin faltered. I hear it too," he muttered, voice tight. "Like voices." Mocking us. Sloan's gaze narrowed, his posture rigid. Ignore it. It's not real. None of this is real. His words carried the weight of certainty, but even he glanced around, assessing every distorted shadow as a potential threat. Kane's eyes scanned the horizon, noting the subtle inconsistencies. The AI was no longer testing their physical prowess alone, it was probing their minds. It wanted hesitation, fear, conflict within the team. Stay sharp, he instructed. Focus on facts, not illusions. Everything here is designed to break patterns. Don't let it succeed. Almost immediately, the test began. Holographic duplicates of the soldiers materialized around them, moving with uncanny precision. Kane froze for a moment, studying the clones, then realized the AI was forcing them to question reality, which was real and which was fabricated. Rylan, stay close. Sloan, cover our backs. Trust your instincts, not your eyes. Rylan swallowed hard but nodded, gripping his rifle with renewed resolve. Got it, Captain. I trust you and you, big guy, he added, nodding toward Sloan. The duplicates attacked simultaneously, mimicking every movement the soldiers made. Kane countered with controlled bursts of fire, shooting not just the illusions, but targeting any subtle inconsistencies that revealed the true threats. Sloan barreled through his doppelganger, smashing the holographic copy while avoiding the real drones the AI had hidden in the shadows. Rylan's agility and rapid thinking allowed him to outmaneuver his own clone while drawing fire from multiple directions. Even as they fought, Kane noticed a deeper pattern. The AI was layering challenges. Not only physical but psychological, the simulation conjured distorted memories, shadows that resembled fallen comrades, and corridors that looped impossibly back on themselves. Each illusion was crafted to provoke doubt, hesitation, or rash decisions. Kane's mind worked like a machine, calculating probabilities, predicting AI behavior, and issuing precise commands. Don't react emotionally. Every step, every shot must be intentional. If it tries to manipulate fear, use it against it. Rylan, panting, found himself cornered by multiple illusions. Panic threatened to rise, but Kane's words cut through the chaos. He recalled a strategy from their early training, unpredictability as a weapon. Instead of dodging, he lunged forward, using a sudden, unconventional attack that dismantled the illusion and created an opening. Sloan, meanwhile, faced a moral simulation. A holographic civilian appeared trapped under debris, screaming for help. His first instinct was to smash the obstruction, but the AI had set the scenario to punish impulsive decisions. Kane's voice echoed in his mind. Think.
Adapt.
Solve. He paused, analyzed structural weaknesses in the simulation, and redirected the debris with precise strikes, freeing the hologram without compromising the team's position. The AI escalated again. From the sky, massive war machines descended, gliding over the warped cityscape. Their weaponry was beyond anything Earth soldiers had faced in real life, their movements fluid and intelligent. Kane quickly assessed the battlefield. We can't match them head-on. Use the environment, trap them, isolate them, and strike their weak points. Rylan, distract. Sloan, flank. I'll coordinate the attack. The soldiers moved like a single organism. Kane's tactical commands were precise. Rylan's improvisation kept the AI off balance, and Sloan's strength cleared paths no one else could. Drones were funneled into collapsing corridors, energy beams redirected with careful precision, and massive war machines toppled one by one. The battle raged, but the soldiers' cohesion and ingenuity proved overwhelming. They had learned the AI's adaptive patterns and began exploiting them, predicting responses, countering anticipated attacks, and turning the simulation's own distortions against it. Kane felt a surge of satisfaction. Earth soldiers were no longer reacting. They were dictating the terms. Finally, as the last of the massive war machines fell, the environment froze. Colors stopped flickering, buildings held steady, and the digital whispers ceased. The AI seemed to pause, observing, recalculating. Kane lowered his rifle, chest heaving, but his mind remained alert. He glanced at Rylan and Sloan, both battered, both exhilarated, both alive, and allowed himself a rare smile. "We made it," Rylan said, disbelief and pride mingling in his voice. I didn't think we could do it." Sloan simply nodded, expression stoic, but eyes gleaming. Kane placed a hand on Rylan's shoulder. "This was more than combat," he said quietly. "We survived because we thought, adapted, and trusted each other. That's what makes humans dangerous. That's why Earth will never be underestimated." Rylan laughed softly, the tension of the past minutes giving way to relief. "Dangerous humans, huh? I like that." Kane's gaze turned to the horizon, where the city still shimmered with residual energy from the simulation. "The AI will adjust. The final stage is coming. It won't be easier, and it won't wait for us to rest. But we've proven something critical. We can outthink it. We can survive it. And we can win." Sloan hefted his rifle over his shoulder and simply said, "Then let's keep moving." As they advanced toward the next distorted corridor, Kane allowed himself a brief thought. Earth soldiers were no longer prey in this simulation. They were predators, capable of exploiting any weakness, adapting faster than any artificial mind could anticipate, and forging victory through ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable teamwork. The simulation pulsed once more intense than before, signaling the beginning of the final challenge. Kane tightened his grip on his rifle, felt the familiar rush of anticipation, and led his team forward. Every step reinforced a simple truth. The galaxy had called Earth weak, but the soldiers within it would prove otherwise. The air shimmered with tension, thick with the energy of the AI's final challenge. Kane's boots crunched against fractured terrain, each step measured, deliberate. The city around them had become a nightmarish labyrinth, towers folding into themselves, streets bending impossibly, and shadows stretching unnaturally, as if reality itself were being rewritten. "This is it," Kane said quietly, voice carrying the weight of both anticipation and resolve. "The AI isn't holding back anymore." Rylan tightened his grip on his rifle, scanning the warped streets. Sweat streaked across his forehead, but his eyes burned with determination. "I say we hit it hard and fast. Make it regret calling us weak." Sloan adjusted his stance, massive arms flexing under reinforced armor. "I'll handle the heavy stuff. You two coordinate. We end this." Kane nodded, heart steady. "Agreed. This is more than brute force. Strategy, adaptability, and teamwork will decide this." The AI had thrown everything it had at them so far, but Kane knew the final stage would test their creativity as much as their combat skills. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Massive alien war machines descended, their armor gleaming under flickering lights, energy weapons arcing across the warped cityscape. The AI had consolidated every tactic it had learned from their prior encounters. Kane took a deep breath and issued commands. "Rylan, draw their attention with mobility. Sloan, flank the largest units. I'll coordinate and target weaknesses. Keep your focus. Every decision counts." Rylan sprinted across the distorted streets, using gravity shifts and broken platforms to evade enemy fire while luring multiple war machines into tight corridors. Sparks and debris flew as he dodged and fired, every movement calculated yet instinctive. Kane's eyes followed, issuing rapid commands and predicting enemy reactions. Sloan charged into the fray, brute strength paired with precise timing, toppling machines that would have crushed lesser soldiers. The AI responded instantly, shifting the battlefield. Towers folded, streets bent into impossible angles, and energy barriers emerged, cutting off their path. Kane studied the environment, mind racing. "Use the distortions," he shouted. "Trap them, funnel them, strike weak points." Rylan nodded, launching a calculated diversion that sent several war machines tumbling into a collapsing corridor. Sloan followed with raw power, smashing through barriers and clearing the way. Kane targeted joints and vulnerable circuitry, each shot carefully calculated, exploiting the AI's own adaptations against it. The battlefield became chaos incarnate, fire, energy, and debris all mixing with the distorted reality. But amid the storm, the soldiers of Earth were methodical, a unit of precision, intuition, and unpredictability. Kane realized the AI had learned something critical from them. Humans did not follow patterns. They adapted. They improvised. They survived. And now they would triumph. Rylan vaulted across a floating platform, landing behind an energy cannon aimed directly at Kane. He disabled it with a precise shot, saving their team from annihilation. Sloan, sensing an opening, hurled himself at a massive war machine, using its own momentum to crash it into a cluster of smaller units. Kane coordinated their attacks seamlessly, a conductor of destruction, exploiting every flaw the AI could not anticipate. Then came the final test. The AI manifested a colossal sentinel, towering above the cityscape, pulsing with energy and awareness. It was faster, stronger, and smarter than anything they had faced before. Kane's mind raced. There was no brute force solution. This required ingenuity. He glanced at Rylan and Sloan. This ends with teamwork and strategy. Follow my lead. He led them through a series of narrow corridors, drawing the Sentinel into a trap designed from the simulation itself. Rylan created a diversion, firing across multiple angles, while Sloan barreled into the Sentinel's flank. Kane aimed at precise weak points, timing shots with calculated leaps and swings. The Sentinel roared, collapsing under the combined assault. Energy discharged across the cityscape, illuminating the soldiers in stark relief. The simulation paused. The environment froze, colors stabilizing, buildings holding firm. Silence descended, thick and heavy, as the AI processed their victory. Then, in a moment that felt almost surreal, the digital constructs faded. The alien overseers, observers the soldiers had never fully seen, materialized, ethereal and imposing. Their voices, resonant yet alien, echoed in the chamber. Earth's soldiers have exceeded expectations. Adaptability, ingenuity, courage. These are traits not programmed into the galaxy's simulation. They are human. Kane lowered his rifle, but did not relax. We are soldiers of Earth, he said firmly. We survive because we think, adapt, and work as one. Never underestimate humanity. Rylan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, a grin spreading across his face. Told you we'd show them, he said, half laughing, half exhausted. Sloan's stoic nod was simple but powerful, a silent acknowledgement of their triumph. Kane allowed himself a rare smile. This is only the beginning, he said, scanning the horizon where the simulation had once warped reality. Earth will no longer be underestimated. And we will be ready for whatever comes next. The simulation chamber began to dissolve around them, the alien cityscape fading into the metallic hum of the real world. Kane's mind replayed the battles, the improvisations, the moments where instinct and ingenuity had turned near defeat into victory. Each soldier had contributed in a way unique to his strengths. Rylan's agility and daring, Sloan's raw power and steadfastness, Kane's strategy and composure. Together, they had forged a force the galaxy had not anticipated. As the platform descended and the chamber's doors opened, Kane took a final, steadying breath. Outside, Earth awaited, its soldiers tempered, proven, and respected. And though the galaxy had once called them weak, Kane knew that word no longer applied. Earth had been underestimated. But its soldiers had entered the crucible of the simulation and emerged unbroken, unbowed, and victorious. And for the first time, Kane allowed himself to imagine what the future could hold. The AI had tested them, challenged them, and pushed them to the brink. But in doing so, it had revealed something the galaxy had failed to see: the unpredictable, unyielding, and indomitable spirit of humanity. Kane glanced at his team, seeing the exhaustion etched into their faces, but also the fire that had carried them through. Let's get ready, he said quietly. The galaxy is watching, and they will remember Earth. The soldiers of Earth stepped forward, leaving the simulation behind, ready to face whatever came next. The world had called them weak. Now they were the standard by which the universe would measure strength.